The year 1971 in Vietnam is burned into the global memory as a period of intense, escalating conflict. Night after night, evening news broadcasts around the world delivered a steady stream of reports covering frontline combat, political strife, and aerial bombardments. The international media presence was massive. Nearly every geopolitical lens was sharply focused on the human toll of the war in North Vietnam. But that exact, intense concentration on military maneuvers created a historical blind spot for anything happening outside the immediate scope of the battlefield. We tend to record the destruction caused by human conflict in meticulous detail, while simultaneously ignoring massive, parallel catastrophes driven entirely by nature. That summer, a very different kind of threat was brewing in the skies over the northern countryside. A severe natural disaster struck the region that year, claiming the lives of at least 100,000 people. Yet, this massive loss of life barely registered in international headlines, completely drowned out by the daily reports of military action. To understand how a catastrophe of this scale goes missing from our collective memory, we have to look past the troop movements and examine the specific geography of North Vietnam itself. This satellite view shows the Red River Delta, a vast coastal plain in North Vietnam. Right in the middle of this highly vulnerable, low-lying region sits the capital city of Hanoi. This area is a natural convergence point. Three major tributaries, the Thao, the Lo, and the Da, merge into one main channel. Under a strict monsoonal climate, intense rains from May to September dump massive volumes of water directly into these converging rivers. Because of this predictable cycle, seasonal flooding between June and October is simply an expected reality of life here, something local communities have adapted to over generations. The water brings rich sediment that makes the delta incredibly fertile for agriculture, but its bowl-like geography effectively transforms it into a giant natural funnel during extreme weather events. To protect the capital from this seasonal threat, engineers built a vast network of earthen dikes, essentially giant, thick walls of packed soil, over 1,000 years ago. During severe August floods, these dikes routinely hold back water rising up to 20 feet above ground level. Over time, engineers added modern supplemental defenses, building large upstream reservoirs to retain and divert dangerous surges before they reach the city walls. Despite the ongoing national conflict in 1971, these essential primary dikes were not neglected. They were regularly maintained and considered structurally sound as the summer monsoon season approached. The citizens of Hanoi lived behind a highly engineered, time-tested defense system that had worked for a millennium. A breach of this magnitude was entirely unexpected. Then came August 1971. A relentless deluge of heavy rain poured over the northern mountains, dumping enough water to completely overload the entire regional watershed. The sheer mathematical volume of the runoff quickly filled the upstream reservoirs to their absolute limits, sending a massive surge of water downstream, pushing directly against the absolute structural limits of the earthen dikes. Pushed far beyond their absolute breaking point by the immense, unrelenting hydrostatic pressure, the 1,000-year-old defense structures finally ruptured. What followed was the rapid, catastrophic failure of centuries of human engineering, collapsing in a matter of hours. Without warning, entire North Vietnamese communities were suddenly and violently submerged by a towering, fast-moving wall of water. Families had only minutes to grab what they could carry and scramble onto small boats as the landscape flattened into a giant lake. The loss of life was staggering. An estimated 100,000 citizens drowned or perished in the resulting chaos. For those who survived the initial surge, the ordeal was far from over. The flood wiped out local infrastructure, destroying homes, roads, and crops, and leaving thousands of vulnerable civilians permanently displaced. The massive death toll and sweeping destruction place this firmly among the single most devastating natural disasters in the recorded history of Vietnam. Which brings us to a difficult question. How does an event that kills 100,000 people completely fail to register in most global history books? The answer lies in where the world was looking. International attention, media coverage, and political outrage remained fixated on the military bombings and the escalating human conflict. Compounding the problem, Strict political barriers and a severe lack of external journalists meant the true scale of the flood was effectively trapped within North Vietnam's borders, unable to reach the outside world. In 1971, the deafening roar of war commanded the globe's full attention, quietly silencing the cries of 100,000 victims of nature's fury.